I hope you're having a good week. Next class, we are discussing application again, and so here's a short video on application synthesis. Okay, for your upcoming class, we're going to be discussing application again. We're going to do some exercises, hopefully on both application synthesis and counter arguments. That being said, like if you're still trying to figure out how to make a comparison or how to sort out CREAC, I want you to focus on that right now. If you look at the rubric for the upcoming assignment, you should be able to get all of your points for that, even if you aren't synthesizing your application yet. That being said, if you're ready for a challenge, ready for something new, you want to start experimenting with this skill that ultimately you're going to be graded on later, and you want to get some feedback on this skill, then watch this video now. If you feel like this is just going to confuse you, you may want to come back to this video again later in the semester. Bookmark it, save it somewhere. So, what is application synthesis? Instead of dividing case by case, we are dividing by category. So here we have, let's say, a case regarding whether a container is a plausible container for the items listed in the search warrant. So police can only look inside a container if it's a plausible container for the items listed in a premises warrant. Instead of applying case by case, the writer can break it down into categories, such as the size of the item and of the container to show that it fits, the typical or intended use of the container to show that it's being used in its typical way, the location of the container, and the materials the container is made of. Or let's go back to our common example of a case involving outrageous conduct, the outrageous conduct element, for intentional infliction of emotional distress. The writer could divide up the application into categories based on some of the factors that there could be a paragraph about the plaintiff's susceptibility, the defendant's abuse of authority, the public nature of the conduct, and the words used. Okay, so how does that look in writing? So here we have a CREAC. As you can see, we've got our conclusion, rule, and explanation we're going to work on later. And for now, we have our application. And so the element at stake here in this particular application is reasonable efforts to maintain secrecy with respect to a trade secret. So that's one of the elements of trade secrets, reasonable efforts to maintain secrecy. And then the writer has divided that up into these subcategories here, or factors, indicating when a plaintiff has taken reasonable efforts to maintain secrecy. So those are advising employees of the secret's existence, limiting employee and third-party access to the secret process or recipe or what have you, protecting the information to ensure secrecy, and restricting disclosures via agreement. All right, so this is the promise that the writer is making, and then we'll take a look at the example to see how the writer has delivered on that promise. All right, so the first category here, advising employees of a secret's existence. So here in application, they're saying, first, the plaintiff explained to employees that the PSF was a trade secret. And then throughout this paragraph, we see references back to that idea. that she explained, that she said, that she labeled, that it was proprietary and confidential. So these are all the efforts that she took to advise regarding secrecy. And you'll notice in this paragraph, it happens to just compare to a single case because that was the only one that shed light on this particular factor. Moving on to the next paragraph, you'll see that there's less to say on this one, but that she restricted employee and public access to the secret. And again, the writer compares to only one case because that's the only one that sheds light on that one. Now, in the next paragraph, the writer has switched to a different case, and now we're on this additional topic. Here, then finally, we go to the last topic, or excuse me, finally, we go to a summary of the different topics that the writer has addressed. Now, in these, the writer addressed only one case in a paragraph, but you'll notice in some of the examples that we'll be looking at, or in one of the examples we'll be looking at during your exercise, the writer sometimes compared to more than one case in a paragraph, which is totally acceptable as long as it's all around that particular topic.